Welcome to Here's to Your Health with Joshua Lane. Here's to Your Health discusses the current thinking in wellness, bringing you the most influential thinkers in beauty, fitness, and longevity. Your host, Joshua Lane, was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that helped bring wheatgrass sprouts and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health, Joshua Lane.
Welcome to this edition of Here's to Your Health. I'm your host, Josh Lane. The subject of raw, that is unpasteurized milk, oftentimes called whole milk, is on people's minds as more and more Americans decide they enjoy the taste of raw milk, they feel better on raw milk, and they feel that raw milk has more food value. And also they feel that pasteurized milk has a lot less food value, doesn't taste that good, and they don't feel that good on it. To discuss this idea of the use of fresh whole milks, I have Pete Kennedy. Pete Kennedy you can discuss a book called The Report of Michigan Fresh Processed Whole Milk Work Group, which was published about, 15 or so years ago. As raw milk has become such a contentious issue in some areas, we have Pete Kennedy to discuss this science. Mr. Kennedy, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here, Josh. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Very, very happy to have you on. I happen to, on a personal level, use raw milk. I think it tastes fantastic. I feel good on it. I avoid pasteurized milk because I just get congested like everybody else, and I recognized that years ago as a teenage boy. And so what prompted you to be involved with this publication from Skyhorse Publishing, The Report of Michigan Fresh Unprocessed Whole Milk Work Group?
Well, I think as raw milk has become more popular, and it's actually received a big spike in popularity with the ascent of MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. I mean, Robert Kennedy has publicly said he's a raw milk drinker, and having the level of influence he does have, I think that alone has increased demand significantly for raw milk in the last year or so. So there was a Michigan work group that met from 2007 to 2012 that is just one of a kind. There really hasn't been anything like it before or since. Just there's the public health people in this country, most people in university just think raw milk can't be produced safely under any circumstances. I think the food safety track record shows that that's not correct. But this was actually a group that consisted of people from the Michigan Department of Agriculture, the Michigan dairy industry, the conventional dairy industry, which usually academia, which is, again, anti-raw milk, raw milk producers, and raw milk consumers, which met over 5 years to just hammer out a paper on risks, benefits of raw milk, recommendations to the Michigan Department of Agriculture. At the time, Michigan prohibited the sale of raw milk. It was actually the first state in the country back in 1948 that passed a mandatory pasteurization law. And so what this group recommended was there's a contractual arrangement called a herd share agreement where someone can purchase an ownership interest in that cow, and through the ownership interest in that cow, they're legally entitled to obtain raw milk. And what the work group recommended and what the Michigan Department of Agriculture ultimately decided that there was to issue a policy, a written policy, just saying that they would not enforce the prohibition against the sale or distribution of raw milk if it was distributed through a herd share agreement.
I see. For those listeners just tuning into the show, our guest is Pete Kennedy. Pete Kennedy is an attorney, and he's discussing the idea of whole milk, that is unprocessed whole milk, on especially a report. His book is called The Report of Michigan Fresh Unprocessed Whole Milk Work Group, which was published about, 15 or so years ago. Mr. Kennedy is a Florida-based attorney. Mr. Kennedy, now you mentioned in 1948, Michigan was the first state to ban the sale of what we call raw milk. And what was the rationale in 1948 to ban raw milk?
Well, I think back at the turn of the 20th century, uh, as this country became increasingly urbanized, a number of dairies moved near the city, or maybe even within city limits in some cases. And the milk they were producing was not sanitary at all. They were these swill dairies. They were using byproducts of distilleries to feed the cows. The conditions itself uh, that a lot of these dairies existed in were very unsanitary. So that kind of led to what is now known as the creation of the pasteurized milk ordinance, which is actually, I think that's started up just over 100 years ago. So just the people in the conventional dairy industry and academia just had the mindset, because of those conditions in the dairies that were near the cities, that raw milk couldn't be produced safely, which wasn't true. There were actually, plenty of dairies in the rural areas producing safe raw milk. There was kind of a conflict. There was actually an organization that formed called the Medical Milk Commission, which advocated for the production of safe milk. This organization set standards for the production and distribution of raw milk. But at the same time, there was also a movement toward pasteurization. Again, this is around the turn of the 20th century. And overall, unfortunately, the movement for pasteurization ultimately won out. And I mean, so as the years passed, the equipment used to produce raw milk became better. The sanitation was better, but it's like the mindset of both the regulators and the academics was that the conditions really were the same in effect that they were at the turn of the century in these urban swill dairies.
I see. Our guest is Pete Kennedy. Pete Kennedy is an attorney discussing report of the Michigan Fresh Unprocessed Whole Milk Work Group about the use of pasteurized milk vis-a-vis so-called raw or whole milk. And so when people buy today, they go to their Sprouts or Lassen's here in California, or any natural food store that sells the unpasteurized whole milk from a certified approved source. And the report, everyone tells me, and I agree, is that obviously it tastes much better and they feel better on it, and they think it has more food value. So is that valid science?
Well, I mean, the bottom line of any science is, I guess, how many people, are getting sick. And what's been unusual about raw milk is that as demand has increased, for the most part, I'd say over the past 10 years, for instance, CDC did a report about, I think it was about between 15 and 20 years ago, where they estimated there were around 10 million raw milk drinkers at the time. No one's come up with any exact numbers at all, but given the demand, I wouldn't be surprised if that's doubled since then. And as the demand has gone up, the number of illnesses attributed to raw milk consumption has actually remained flatter, in some years even gone down.
Right.
The last year that I'm aware of, CDC kept full statistics on the number of illnesses attributed to raw milk was 2020. And that was a year there was tremendous demand because of COVID. There were these rolling food shortages in the conventional food system, and a lot more people were going to the farm, and raw milk was one of the main foods they were purchasing at the farm. And that year, there was something like 5 outbreaks attributed to raw milk the entire year, something like 25 to 30 illnesses. And this was a year where there was, it almost defies the law of statistics, where, during a year when there was that much of an increase in demand, there were that few illnesses.
Right. Right. Our guest is Pete Kennedy, the attorney, discussing the report of Michigan Fresh Unprocessed Whole Milk Work Group. Mr. Kennedy, so in preparation for the interview, I read in your book, that indeed, oftentimes the Department of Agriculture will test milk, not unopened milk from the store shelves, but milk that has been opened in a sick person's home, and they test those sample of milk, and that milk often is contaminated because the person who opened it is sick. And also, I read that they use a PCR test, which is not particularly accurate. So does there seem to be an institutional bias against the use of raw milk?
Well, yeah, I don't think there's any question there is. Like, if there's a foodborne illness outbreak, usually I guess there's a list of questions they'll submit to the person the people who've been sick. And one of those questions is, have you consumed raw milk? And we've just seen many times where when the answer to that is yes, is that basically shuts the investigation down. The at that point, the Department of Public Health determines that raw milk is the culprit, even though it might not have been. Just one of the things I'd say is that raw milk is a highly traceable food. I mean, one of the buzzwords for food safety is traceability, and I don't think there's a food more traceable than raw milk. So, I mean, it has been responsible for illness, but maybe more than any other food when it actually is responsible. People, the public health workers are able to establish that just because the area is so confined compared to most foods. A lot of foods, might have ingredients from a dozen different countries. If it's a hamburger that made somebody sick from a fast food chain, I mean, that could be meat from dozens of states, dozens of countries around the world. So it's much easier if there is an outbreak, where raw milk is responsible to, just to establish that.
All righty. Our guest is Pete Kennedy, the attorney, discussing the value of raw unpasteurized milk versus pasteurized milk. Mr. Kennedy, why did you become involved with this idea that raw milk is better? And also, if I can ask on a personal level, are you a consumer of raw milk?
Yeah, I have been for close to 25 years now. I mean, back in the day, I drank, back then the milk they mainly marketed was the 2% milk, because the dairy industry, can make a lot of money removing the cream from the milk and just selling that and other dairy products. So they, encouraged the consumption of this 2% milk. I didn't like the taste at all. Eventually stopped, but about 20 years later, I started drinking raw milk again, and good raw milk tastes like ice cream without the sugar. It's been close to 25 years that I've been drinking it.
How can the listeners of Here's to Health contact you to find out more about your work? Because you do other good work on food safety besides the raw milk issue, don't you?
Yeah, I work a lot on meat issues, just trying to improve what really is the deficient slaughterhouse infrastructure in this country, just trying to legalize the sale, of on-farm slaughtered and processed meat, which also, from everything I've seen, has a good record for track safety. Became a member of the Weston Price Foundation 25 years ago. And
Right.
a couple of years after I'd been a member, I contacted Sally Fallon, the president, and just asked, about doing some volunteer work for them. And the second project I did was just doing something on compiling the raw milk laws around the country, because raw milk is the only food banned in interstate commerce that I know of. And so as a result, it's legal in intrastate commerce within the state. In most foods, the states just adopt the federal laws, but raw milk is unique because since there is no federal law because of the ban, it's just a hodgepodge of laws. So I compiled a list of the different laws on raw milk around the country. I mean, like you said, in some states like California and Arizona, the retail sale is legal. Some states it's only legal on the farm. Some states, only goat milk is legal. Some states there's a limit on cows or goats, or a limit on gallons that could be sold. So it just varies across the board.
Our guest is Pete Kennedy, the attorney. How can listeners of Here's to Health contact you to find out more about your work?
Well, they can go to the Weston Price Foundation. They can contact Weston Price, info at westonaprice.org. The phone number is 703-820-3333. The Weston Price's president and founder, Sally Fallon Morell, has done more to increase demand for raw milk than I think anyone out there. So anyone, and just other foods direct from the farm too. So anyone who wants to, who enjoys eating good food, getting their food right from the farm, I think should be a member of Weston Price because Sally has a lot to do with making it as accessible as it is today.
Right, right. I'm familiar with the Weston A. Price Foundation. As I understand it, Weston Price was a dentist who in the 1930s did all sorts of travel and experimentation on raw milk and other healthy foods. So really that was, it was like more than 90 years ago he was talking about these topics.
Right. And what he did was he went to these people who were basically out of the path of progress. The industrial food, like refined sugar, refined flour, hadn't reached them yet. So he basically found out what made them well. What foods were they eating that made them well? And one of the things he found was that all their diets were rich in vitamin A and vitamin D,
Oh,
and both those vitamins are present in raw milk.
right. And may I ask, on raw milk, when you, let's say, for example, family and friends who don't necessarily share your perspective, if you chat with them and you speak about raw milk, will they try it or are they afraid?
Well, so I think when it comes to that, there are two kinds of people: the people who might agree with you and the people who never agree with you. So, yeah, you're wasting your time if you're not able to tell the difference between uh, those two kinds of people when it comes to safety of raw milk. So, but yeah, there are a number of people who've I've spoke with over the years who've taken it up, and not everyone just has the not everyone can consume raw milk or any milk product for that matter. But what's interesting is that Weston Price commissioned a survey years ago where this was in the Midwest. I think about 1,500 people were contacted as part of the survey. Where one of the questions on the survey is, have you been diagnosed as lactose intolerant by a healthcare professional? And the next question is, are you able to consume raw milk without any problem? And so I think there are a couple hundred people who answered that survey saying they had been diagnosed as lactose intolerant. And something like 82% of those people were able to consume raw milk without a problem.
Wow. Well, okay then. That is interesting, and that was a long time ago. And so, when you, let's say, for example, you can try to convince someone to drink raw milk and they like it, and do they tell you, "Oh my, Pete, how the milk tastes so good? I just really enjoy the milk."
Um, yeah, a lot of times they do because it's got a rich. I mean, good raw milk has a big cream line. It just tastes better than pasteurized milk. I mean, the demand for most of, I think, the last 30 or 40 years ago for pasteurized milk has gone down just about every year. I mean, maybe there's a year or two that's been an exception. I think part of that is taste, but yeah, what happens too is you get a lot of these mothers with young children where they might have an allergy or something, asthma, eczema, something like that, and they find out those problem that goes away with raw milk or is diminished. And yeah, once they find that out, it's tough to keep them away from trying to access that product, no matter what the laws say in the
Right,
state.
right. Our guest is Pete Kennedy. Pete Kennedy is an attorney, and he has discussing a book called "Report of Michigan Fresh Unprocessed Whole Milk Work Group" about the value and use of so-called raw milk. That's what's commonly called, but I guess more correctly it's called fresh unprocessed whole milk. Mr. Kennedy, do the farmers who produce raw milk and sell to the consumers, do they, because I've read that many dairy farms go out of business. So is the model better for the farmers to sell raw milk, and who makes money when they sell pasteurized milk?
Well, without a question, it's better because the farmers who sell raw milk for pasteurization are just basically trapped in a commodity system that might pay them $2, the equivalent of $2 for a gallon of milk. Sometimes it's quite a bit less than that, where farmers selling raw milk, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the prices in the stores in California. It's probably anywhere from $16 to $20 now. And, when you're selling through the commodity system, you only get a percentage of the total food dollar. With raw milk, if you're selling direct to consumer, instead of getting a percentage of $2, I mean, in most areas of the country, I think you might be getting anywhere from $10 to $12. In some areas like the West Coast, it could be over 20.
Right, because actually I drink the Raw Farms raw milk here in California, and I buy it at Whole Foods, I buy it at Sprouts, other shops, other great shops. Erewhon carries it, and Erewhon, which always Erewhon is an old English term. It means to overcharge for no reason. And little joke there about Erewhon. Erewhon charges $9.99 for a quart, and I think Lassen's charges $7.19, and I believe Sprouts charges $8.99. So it's not that much money, and they do taste good. And when I visit Sprouts, the people who work there say, "Oh my God, Joshua, we sell out every week on the raw milk. Everyone likes it."
Well, yeah, I mean, just a year or so ago, Raw Farm was unjustly shut down for a diagnosis of, they were diagnosed with having avian influenza on the farm, HPAI. And yeah, there is no record of HPAI in raw milk making anyone sick. And I think, yeah, there's probably a pretty big black market in the state for the time they were shut down, is my guess. Because, Raw Farm is the biggest producer in California by far.
Yeah, they do a great job. Our guest is Pete Kennedy, an attorney, discussing the report of Michigan Fresh Unprocessed Whole Milk Work Group. Mr. Kennedy, we have about a minute left. How can listeners of Here's to Your Health contact the Weston Price Foundation?
Okay, so again, they can either email info@westonaprice.org, or they can call 703-820-3333. And I'll give my direct email address too with Weston Price. They can contact me. That's Pete@realmilk.com.
Okay, very good.
RALMILK.com. And there's actually a separate website, realmilk.com, where if people are interested in finding sources of raw milk, they can go to that site. There are many articles on the safety and benefits of raw milk, other aspects of the product. So that's a valuable resource for people interested in finding out more and finding out where they can obtain it.
Well, thank you very much. Our guest has been Pete Kennedy. A very interesting conversation about his work with Weston A. Price Foundation, and from the book, the report of Michigan Fresh Unprocessed Whole Milk Work Group, published a number of years ago, supporting the ideas of the value and the quality and the need for raw milk as part of our keeping us nice and healthy. This is Josh Lane. You're listening to Here's to Your Health. We'll take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Medical scientists worldwide are encouraging people to eat more fish. Most American diets are low in cold water fish that are abundant in important omega-3 oils. DHA and EPA are the vital components of fish oil that provide healthy benefits. Not only are they crucial for brain and vision development, they're very important for cardiovascular health. Carlson, America's leading Norwegian fish oil brand, specializes in both great-tasting soft gels that are easy to swallow and fish oil liquids that don't taste fishy. That's right, Carlson provides the most extensive line of fish oils to meet all your needs. You can take Carlson fish oils with confidence, for Carlson fish oils are tested for purity, potency, and freshness. Ask for Carlson Norwegian fish oils today. That's right. Ask for Carlson Norwegian fish oils today.
Hi friends, Monica Brandt here for Aloe Life #1 in aloe vera. As a professional international athlete for over 30 years between track, ninja, and fitness, I want to remind you of daily exercise plus Aloe Life, my daily wake up to look and feel your best. Aloe Life products boosted victory for me in 2016, winning first place World's European Union figure. See aloelife.com athletes. Plus workouts are easier too with Aloe Life products for digestion, energy, and stamina for success, or even dropping weight. It's so easy, friends, to choose a winning team. Aloe Gold or Detox Plus with certified organic daily green superfoods by Aloe Life. Be your own best athlete with Aloe Life products that work fast. aloelife.com or 1-800-414-ALOE. Choose Aloe Life today, friends. I'm glad I did. This is Monica Brandt, Fitness Olympia champion and fan of Aloe Life for over 10 years. Aloe Life since 1991.
Welcome to this edition of Here's to Your Health. I'm your host, Josh Lane, and my guest is the wellness teacher and musician Wouter, who has a brand new book out called Plant Power about the value and use of medicinal plants, and also has a new record out on vinyl called Plant Power, and seems to be a man who's interested in many things. Wouter, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Very happy to have you on. So your new book, Plant Power, just came out, I think, recently. And how many languages is it published in?
It's published now in 3 languages.
Oh, very good.
In English, this is the English version.
Plant Power,
Plant Power. The Dutch version, Plantkracht, and the German version is already out, but my brother only received. I made the book with my brother. He's a Michelin star chef, and he already received it somehow. They were sending it to us, but didn't get to me. But it doesn't matter, tomorrow or something.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Okay, now Plant Power, about medicinal plants. What plants are you focusing on that really we should really know how powerful, how good they are for us?
I'm focusing on plants that you can find all around the corner, like nettles and dandelions and things like that, but also some curiosities or plants that are used in different cultures. I'm actually a cultural anthropologist, ethnobotanist. That means I'm very interested in the use of plants in different cultures. I traveled a lot around the world. I'm actually a mentalist, and I learned my magic in India. I'm a magician, and I'm an academic, and my final research project for the University of Amsterdam and the Academy of Arts in Amsterdam was in South India, Kerala, Southwest India. And there I did a research study on a sort of martial art. I'm a martial art guy also. I like that very much. And that is also a sort of healthcare system. And that healthcare system is called Kalari Payattu. And they also work with medicinal plants. And on the side, I wanted to do something nice for myself. And it was to make a documentary after traditional Indian magic. It's called Jadoo. And I happened to interview these people, and then somebody showed me a little piece of wood, and it was gone. It's like, wow, this is it. I was searching for this magic all my life because my grandfather was a general practitioner and a skin doctor, and he already went to India in the 1950s before all the hippies, where he learned to meditate and empty his mind with meditation. I heard all these stories of things that he encountered, people that could cut off their thumb and grow it back, and he took home the Ganga water from the Ganga river and he couldn't understand it was still so clean, even if they burned people around near it and all that. So I wanted to see this with my own eyes. As you see, there's a lot of books behind me. I hated reading before, but my grandfather died, and then I inherited a lot of books about masters of the Far East and all kinds of things of India, And I wanted to see that with my own eyes. I traveled maybe 7 times to India before I started to live there for half a year. And then I learned about medicinal plants and the healthcare system and this whole martial art. And I became a magician there, and that's how I made a living. And the plants in the book, I travel a lot, As a performer, I travel all over the world. I had to do like 36 shows for a certain, maybe we cannot call the brands, but for a certain brand, telephone, or Samsung Egypt. Yeah. And then I on the side, I do a research on a certain plant, in this case, the blue lotus. That was about 10 years ago, and it's national flower of Egypt. It was an entheogen, a sacrament that was used in the rituals of ancient Egypt. And I did a lot of research. I wrote an article about it, and then, like that.
Wow, that's interesting. Wow. Our guest is Wouter, who, as you see, is a man of many interests. He has a new book out, Plant Power, about the value of medicinal plants. Well, let's talk about something that everyone can relate to. What about dandelion? I mean, what do you like about dandelion, and why should we pay attention to it rather than just pull it out of the garden?
For example, dandelion is a very interesting plant because the whole plant can be consumed. And for example, in the season that it flowers, I always eat like 3 flowers a day because it's very good for your eye. There's a yellow kind of spot in your eye, maybe you heard about it. And the yellow of the dandelion goes directly to the eye. It also contains molecules that are actually protecting us against lung diseases. So if you eat a few of these flowers, they're quite bitter. That means also they're very good. Any bitter substance is good for your digestive juices and digestive system. That is a fact. And they give you certain molecules that are going in your bloodstream, so you're protected when there's a cold or a flu or things that works on the lungs, like diseases, as we can call them, pathogens. Then you are already protected. You have that whole arsenal in your bloodstream. And what is also very interesting about it, the roots of the dandelion, they contain also a lot of inulin that are very good. Yeah, it's a very good substance for the bacteria in your intestines. As you know, there's like billions of bacteria living in our intestines, a couple of kilos. Everybody has that. We need them. They help us. Some of them even make serotonin that makes you happy. And you feed them with this inulin. But the great thing about this dandelion roots, in the book I describe how to make a tincture of it, a mother tincture. You can make a tincture of it by putting it in alcohol, like 40% here. We call it like vodka or something. It's a medicinal tincture. Eh? So you clean the roots, you chop them up, put them in the alcohol, leave that for 4 to 6 weeks, shake it once in a while. Then you filter it and you have a mother tincture. And that you can consume every day, 40 drops. In spring, it's better to clean your whole liver, It cleanses your liver. And our liver loves bitter. And bitter also relaxes us. It relaxes us. And I actually, it's interesting to know how I got into these plants. I'm a magician, mentalist, and I did a stunt in Amsterdam, the capital of the Netherlands, 12 meters high. I don't know in American feet and things like that, but I think a meter is 3 feet, so very high, 30 feet or something. And I practiced it on 3 meters height, and it was very scary. It was wind power 8. It was October, and I was so afraid to die, and nobody dared to cure me. Only Lloyd's in London for £100,000. So my wife at that time didn't dare to come. Whole Dutch press was there on the ground. It came in all the newspapers and everything. But I was so afraid to die, so I pulled back or something. And my back was completely destroyed. I walked around like half diagonal. Couldn't drive the car. I was on the top of my career. And then after 7 years in the Netherlands, I tried Mensendiek, orthomanual therapy, physiotherapy, took Röntgen pictures. Nothing helped. It became worse and worse and worse. Then I had to perform a show for the Miss India election in Suriname. That's a land in South America on the eastern side in the Amazon rainforest. And there's people, they're called the Maroons. They're the escaped slaves. They escaped from the Dutch. It was a former Dutch colony. And they have knowledge of bones that we don't have, And I read about it in a book from a mother with a child that had osteoporosis, that your bone had scrambled down. A whole thing, the doctor in the Netherlands said there's no medicine for it. The guy went to Suriname and he got to this man and got cured by him. So I read it. After 3 weeks he could run. The man said, throw away your sticks, throw away your wheelchair. The doctor in the Netherlands said, you can only move around in a wheelchair so your bones don't scramble down. The guy's life was destroyed. He was 12. It's a disease that only happens after 55. And he went there. After 3 weeks he could run. 4 weeks, jumped from trees. 6 weeks later in the Netherlands, he took Röntgen pictures. All bones got restored. A medical miracle. So I read about it. I heard all the Dutch football players, like the Surinamese background, Bogarde, Edgar Davids, went to this man. I was there. People said, go to him. I paid him 1,000 Surinamese dollar. That's like $220, American dollars. You get medicine for the rest of your life. Can you imagine? And he said, oh, it's a big problem. You will get cured. I got cured, and I said, if it's going to happen, it's the biggest miracle of my life. I'm a miracle maker, that's my job, profession. And it cured, so I thought, wow, these plants. Then I got a second calling in my life. I thought, I'm going to study pharmacognosis. That is like 2,000-year pharmacy knowledge, which molecules are in plants, which part of the plant to use, etc., etc. And I started to write articles about it, sell it a little bit on festivals and healthcare kind of fairs. And that's how I got into these plants,
Fantastic.
There's a very interesting American book. I think I have it here. It's called The Death and Resurrection Show by Rogan Taylor, an anthropologist. Oh, yeah, here. The Roots of Showbiz, you know?
Repeat the name of the book you're showing me on the camera.
This one? This is The Death and Resurrection Show by Rogan Taylor. He's also an anthropologist. And he said the roots of showbiz are in hell, you know?
Huh.
They're wounded healers. Before, when we were still nomadic, 10,000 years ago, people were nomadic. They got together, living in groups of 60, 100 people or something, 20 people. They traveled. They always had a shaman, like a doctor that could cure. But it was a doctor that went to hell, that cured himself, that overcame a disease that was incurable, or maybe he lost everything, or almost on the edge of death. Then he cured himself, and they had a sort of reference to the supernatural that they encountered in this, what you call hell, you know. So they could, for example, some could juggle, some could do sleight of hand magic, some could do snake charming, some could do mentalism, some could do poetry, singing, things like that. And they used these skills to put people into an ecstatic trance, to heal. With ecstasy, natural ecstasy, you can create with arts like music. You can make the mind blank, like chuk. And then you can give suggestion to heal, you know. They came together in festivals where they battled, like a circus. That's where the circus came from. They came in circles, together, and they battled. One do the juggling, the other do the poetry, the other do sleight of hand magic, the other did mentalism, the other do some juggling. And that's where the circus came from, you know.
Huh.
And that is actually the roots of showbiz. I learned it from an American magician, Eugene Berger, who was a teacher of me. He was a former comparative religion professor in Yale University, but he said, I just want to make people happy with ecstasy of magic, you know. He tipped me this book. I also refer to it in this book that I wrote, Plant Power. I'm an academic, I'm a clinical herbalist, you know, so it's rooted in tradition. I discovered that our healthcare system can do a lot, yeah?
Yeah.
Don't misunderstand me, but we are not superior in everything. There's other systems, like the Chinese or the people from Russia and China and Korea. They know a lot about medicinal mushrooms that we are just starting to learn. They can do miracles in our viewpoint. And also the African bone masters, they can do things with bones. They can melt bones, you know. They put it here, these creams, and they become like a flexible, and they can grow bones wherever you want. And I encountered this. So I thought, if I want to bring this to a Western audience to understand this, I have to study pharmacognosy and give people the ideas of the molecules and the rational way how it works. Yeah. It's from passion that it came.
Our guest is Wouter, who has a brand new book out, Plant Power, and a brand new album to support it as well, Plant Power.
Oh, yeah, the album. This is the album. It's just out since a week on vinyl, you see, with plants, and it's a very nice blue vinyl. But most songs are in Dutch, one song is in English. So
okay.
Maybe we translate it one day also, you know.
Well, Wouter, you seem to have a very interesting background, and it's interesting the way you describe how everything blends together. And I never heard this before, that the circus, the origin of circus, which I think actually the way you describe it, you could be correct on that.
Yeah. If you see this whole explanation of this man, Rogan Taylor, you think, that's reliable. That's it, you know. Now the circus is secular, you know. That means it's just entertainment, but the roots of it are pretty spiritual and down to earth. You know, also what I find interesting as an anthropologist is that shamanism, that we often see as something like very airy, is very grounded. It's very rational in a way. You know, these things like plant that people say, spirits, they don't exist, but certain plants, if you put them in your body, the perception of reality changes, and you can see very interesting things. Maybe it's another story for
wow, that was very nicely stated. Yes, I really like that a lot. Our guest is Wouter, has a brand new book out called Plant Power. Can we get Plant Power here in the United States? It's now been published? Plant Power?
Yeah, the book is published in the United States, in America, and you can buy it in any bookstore, I think, or your local bookstore can order it for you, or you can just buy it online in the bookstores or at the website of Inner Traditions, you know.
Inner Traditions. Oh, they're a great publishing house. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Oh, yeah. God, they've been around forever. Yeah, they're great. Now, okay, we have a few minutes left. Wouter is our guest, the author of a brand new book called Plant Power. So what about something that is also very common, like garlic and onions? Are you big fans of them? Are they really important medicinally?
I think garlic is very good. They call it Russian penicillin. You know, penicillin is like an antibiotic because it, even under the, if you test it, how bacteria can die from it, you know. Huh. And it's very good. Garlic is very good to clean your veins, you know, for your bloodstream. So especially when you eat it raw, but it's maybe too strong for people. But garlic is described in the book, and it's, I use it. I just cooked now a meal. We are now a little bit of a time difference, so it's like 6, 7 o'clock. I just used also a lot of onions and garlic indeed, yes. Right. I like it very much.
Right. And do people...
I think it's good. You know what I want to give to the people?
Yeah.
Because my book is about giving. I want to empower the people with this. I want you to be a better herbalist than me and know more and be wiser and everything. It just opens the tip of the veil, and you can do anything. My general practitioner said, Wouter, you did an amazing job. I didn't expect from you, but this is the future of medicines, he said, and I cried almost, because I put my soul in this. I put 10,000 euros in this, all my money, here's full of books to go crazy, because when I do something, I like it very much, I go crazy. But what I want people to give is, if you want to do something for your health, it's also try to eat 30 different phytonutrients per week. I also eat everything, myself, not too much meat, but I do eat it, and fish.
Sure.
Try to eat organic, but try to eat 30 different plant products, sesame seeds, spinach, whatever, because your body knows automatically what to do with it. Everybody talks always about superfoods, and some of them are really good, but actually for me, everything is a superfood, and it's the variety. Yeah, your body knows what to do with it. We've been around for a long time, and your body knows what it can do with it, And certain plants are extremely more powerful than others, and you have to remember that it's the dose that makes something a medicine or a poison, So from certain plants, you just take a little bit, and from others, you need a lot, but you need to know the dose. And also, when you want to work with medicinal plants, always talk to your general practitioner for advice. You say, I read this in this book and I read some other books. And what do you think about it? I prefer to use natural things, natural medicines to heal my body. What do you think about it? And then you can talk with your general practitioner and get the right way to use.
Wouter, that was great. I'm happy to say we simply ran out of time. Our guest was Wouter, has a brand new book out called Plant Power, and Wouter is a musician, also has a new album out called Plant Power. As you heard, he is a mentalist and a musician and a world traveler, seems to be very knowledgeable on herbs. It's been a great interview. So again, Wouter, we can purchase his book here in the United States. It's called Plant Power. This is Josh Lane. You're listening to Here's to Your Health. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back after these important messages.
Friends, say goodbye to rough, dry, and troubled skin. Even acne scars fade with Aloe Life Skin Gel by Aloe Life, not over-processed. So look for the dark yellow color, like the ancients wrote about, that gets to work fast in 5 minutes to 45 days. Skin Gel for more beautiful skin by Aloe Life. Call 800-414-ALOE. That's 800-414-ALOE. An A+ Better Business Bureau company. Skin Gel available at Whole Foods, Clark's, Natural Grocers, other quality stores, plus AloeLife.com. 800-414-ALOE. That's 800-414-ALOE. Aloe Life, aloe vera. For you, 800-414-ALOE. Do something good for yourself. Zoom into the new year. Leaders in health products since 1991. Aloe Life, for a healthier life.
Have you had your Carlson Norwegian fish oil today? Decades ago, scientists discovered why Greenland Eskimos maintain healthy hearts despite their high-fat diets. The high level of omega-3 oils in their seafood diet protected their hearts. Carlson Norwegian fish oil provides those important omega-3 oils. The same omega-3s from cold water fish support maximum brain power, immune strength, joint comfort, and our vision too. Carlson, the very finest fish oil, is a valuable source of the important omega-3s, EPA and DHA. Each teaspoon provides a full 1,600 milligrams of omega-3s. And its purity is guaranteed. Try it on salads and popcorn. It tastes like lemon, not fishy. Ask for Carlson, the very finest fish oil, at finer health food stores today.
Welcome to this edition of Here's to Your Health. I'm your host, Josh Lane. Those of you who listen to the show regularly know how much I like to discuss nutrition and wellness and exercise and the environment as far as keeping us healthy. And these are all topics that many of us are now really recognize the importance of these topics. And it's also interesting how complex and remarkable the human body is. And so there's always new ideas coming to us. And sometimes the ideas are kind of maybe even a little shocking. And I read an article just the other day on Joseph Mercola's website. I'm a big fan of Joseph Mercola. He has some great articles on his site. He's been doing it for, 15 to 20 years. He has a great track record. I'm a big fan, again, of Joseph Mercola. And the article actually talks about when we get organ transplants, when organs are transplanted, memories, personalities, preferences, and skills, including, get this, including what happened at the donor's moment of death, have been repeatedly observed to transfer from the donor to the recipient in a manner that strongly suggests a real transference is occurring, raising questions, significant questions, as to where our consciousness or memories come from and who we actually are. This is actually kind of, very new discussion. Dr. Paul Purcell has some groundbreaking research documenting 73 heart transplant cases where the recipients experienced dramatic personality changes, changes in food preference, sexual orientation shifts, and even acquired new skills that perfectly matched their unknown donors. Approximately 10% of heart transplant recipients report experiencing emotions that they believe came from their donor. And the most extraordinary cases, one case in particular, includes an 8-year-old girl who received a murdered child's heart and provided police with accurate details that led to the killer's conviction, and recipients who suddenly developed artistic abilities that matched their donor's talents. When organ transplants first became possible, doctors celebrated it as a remarkable medical achievement, and it certainly is. What no one anticipated was that along with functional organs, something really far more mysterious might also transfer, and that is aspects of the donor's consciousness, personality, memories, and even skills. The evidence for this phenomena has been accumulating for decades. Mainstream medicine has not been reporting on it because it challenges fundamental assumptions about where consciousness comes from. If memories and personality traits can be stored in organs rather than just the brain, this would completely revolutionize our understanding of human consciousness. So this is all new information, but I thought it was so interesting, I really wanted to mention it to the listeners of Here's to Your Health. There is a physician, Dr. Benjamin Bunzel, at the University Hospital in Vienna in Austria. He studied 47 heart transplant patients and found that while 79% claimed their personality hadn't changed, although possibly signs showed otherwise, 6% reported distinct personality changes they attributed directly to their new hearts. These individuals felt compelled to accommodate what they sensed as their donors' memories. When studied more extensively, approximately 10% of heart transplants recipients reported experiencing emotions they believed came from their donor. The most comprehensive study was done by neuropsychologist Dr. Paul Purcell, who underwent bone marrow transplantation for himself. And in The Heart's Code, his book, he interviewed 73 heart transplant recipients, 67 other organ recipients, and families of 18 deceased donors. And Dr. Paul Purcell said, "When I listen to the tapes of my interviews with heart and lung transplant recipients and the donor families, I am still taken aback by what they've shared with me." He identified consistent patterns: traumatic memory transfer. Recipients repeatedly recalled their donor's death through dreams or physical sensations despite knowing nothing about the donor. preference changes, dramatic shifts in food and music tastes matching the donor, vegetarians becoming carnivores, and vice versa. That almost sounds like a joke, but this is not a joke. Sexual orientation changes, including a lifelong lesbian becoming attracted to men and marrying one. And also a note, Dr. Persall, one of his colleagues has a male patient who received a female heart, then became compelled to transition to becoming a woman, something never considered before the transplant. Now again, some of this might to you sound like a joke or just ridiculous, and I am mentioning it because it's just new discussion, and what it really shows to me is how complex the human body is, how remarkably well designed we are, and how the study of healthcare is constantly growing and evolving. Dr. Persall also documented several cases so remarkable they seemed really just maybe impossible. And here's one. This is probably the most remarkable. An 8-year-old girl who received a murdered 10-year-old's heart began having nightmares about the killer. Using the child's descriptions, police found and convicted the murderer based on completely accurate details about timing, weapon, location, and the victim's final words. How about this? Here's one. A physician whose husband, David, died in a car crash, later met the transplant recipient. She whispered to him, "I love you, David. Everything is copacetic." The recipient's mother revealed, "My son uses that word, copacetic, all the time now. He never used it before he got his new heart. This has been the couple's special signal." Okay, here's one. This is about music. A 47-year-old foundry worker received a 17-year-old African-American student's heart and developed a fascination with classical music. Initially, he dismissed any connection, but he later learned the donor, the African-American student, had died clutching his violin case on a way to violin lessons. How about this one? Here's one. This is a food one. One recipient experienced multiple changes, feeling the donor's fatal car accident in her chest, becoming a vegetarian after being McDonald's, quote, biggest moneymaker, and changing from gay to straight. After my transplant, I'm not. I have absolutely no desire to be with a woman. I think I got a gender transplant. In rare cases, heart transplant recipients are able to meet their donors due to a phenomenon known as domino transplants, where a patient with failing lungs receives both a heart and lungs simultaneously and then donates their heart to someone else. When Dr. Persall interviewed a heart transplant recipient, it was a man named Fred, and his donor Jim, both of their wives noted the husband had taken on personality traits of their heart donor. For example, the depression and romanticism of Jim's now deceased donor, and that Fred mistook his wife for Jim's wife. That sounds like a joke, but this is not a joke. It just goes to show how remarkably complicated the human body is and how careful we must be with ourselves. And I would like to thank Dr. McCullough for this article on potential personality changes, or we pick up the personality of the donor, the person who gave us the heart or the lungs. And I thought this was an interesting topic, and I really would like to thank you for listening. Again, this is Josh Lane. This is Here's to Your Health, and we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
The latest from the greatest, the best in new music by classic rockers, with your host, the insane Daryl Wayne.
This is Alice Cooper, and if Daryl Wayne is insane, what does that make me? Criminally insane. Stick around to find out.
Many of the artist interviews for the latest from the greatest have been captured on audio book. There is a Volume 1 and Volume 2. Great information and conversations with people in the industry and people surrounded by the industry, and of course the rock stars themselves.
I'm the Reverend Al Green, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne. And I said Wayne Insane.
You can find it on Amazon or Blackstone Audio. Search for the latest from the greatest from Daryl Wayne, Darrell Wayne.
Hello, this is Weird Al Yankovic, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne, aren't you?
Thank you for listening to the show. If you have suggestions for guests or topics you would like to hear, please email me at joshlane.wellness@gmail.com. That's joshlane.wellness@gmail.com. JOSHLANE wellness@gmail.com. On behalf of the cast and crew, I would like to wish you a healthy and safe good evening.